Did you know that in 2024, 71% of all realtors did not sell a single property? Not even one, across the country, 71%. Chances are, if you're watching this, you would very much like to not be a part of that statistic. You'd probably rather be doing something like this.
The person that they have really gone out there, they have exceeded themselves, they are making those listings, they're selling the properties, they are really busting it. Our 2024 Rookie of the Year, Eric Hollis.
Today in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do to succeed in your first year and not only surpass 71% of all agents, but even better than that. Because you sell one property, you're already in the top 29% in the industry. I'm going to teach you how to actually succeed. Stay tuned. So let's start with the brutal truth. Why did 71% of agents fail? Let's be honest, if you don't close a single deal, then yeah, you are failing. Why did they fail in 2024? Number one is lack of consistent prospecting. For me, I've been doing this 5 to 6 days a week for a year and a half now, right? That's the consistent actions you take or fail to take will result in your closed transactions, your number of listings taken, or lack thereof. If you are not, whatever your lead gen tactic or strategy is, I'm a cold caller. I beat that drum pretty heavily. It's what I believe in. You do whatever the hell you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not doing something consistently that is bringing results to the table, you will fail. You will be in the top 71%, selling nothing. Number two, over-reliance on paid lead sources. So I know I just said whatever your lead gen method of choice is fine, but as a new agent, you have to make a decision. Do you have more time on any given day? Do you have more time to allocate to your business, or do you have more money to allocate to your business? So too many of us, vast majority of the industry, focus on these paid lead sources because it's the easy way out. Hey, I can just give a company my credit card. They will hand me leads that, by the way, they're giving to everybody else. Don't tell anybody. And then you end up not only broke, but losing money. So that is, you don't want to over rely on paid lead sources. Paid lead sources are fine to scale. So if you door knock, open houses, cold calling, one of these unpaid sources, even like content creation, unpaid inbound approaches. If you're doing one of these things and you build a massive business and then you have a budget to grow the business with your money, because now that you are closing 20, 30, 40 deals a year, you have less time and more money. So that spectrum kind of flips. You can dive into these paid lead sources then and only then. That's the only time it makes sense to do so, in my humble opinion. Lastly, we got mindset issues. So I dealt with this early on. Call reluctance, fear of failure, procrastination, perfectionism is procrastination in disguise, as we all know. You have to push past that. You have to understand that if you don't work, your business will not grow. And we know what we need to be doing. So quit pretending like you don't know. Just do the damn thing, get it done, and grow your business. By the way, I don't love cold calling. Speaking on mindset a bit, there's a fantastic book. It's an autobiography called Open. It's Andre Agassi's autobiography. And basically the entire book is about how awesome he was at tennis and how much he accomplished in his career and how much he hated tennis, right? I don't love banging the phones every day, 5 to 6 days a week, but it's given me a lot of great results and it's providing a life for my family that, I think we all aspire to when we get into this industry. So diving a little bit more into mindset, because I want to get really specific around what I mean mindset. I think a lot of people preach mindset without teaching mindset. One of the first things I think you need to come to terms with most agents need to come to terms with is we are sales professionals. I think the confusion around, oh, we don't sell, we serve, or we don't, we're in a relationship business, not a sales business, or like whatever fancy bow you want to tie on it. We are in a sales business. We sell a service to consumers. So we're business to consumer, B2C sales. And we then provide them that service and we get compensated very well for doing so. So I think you need to, I think that's one of the things that keeps people from prospecting consistently, because they're like, oh, I don't need to make sales calls. That's for salespeople. We are salespeople. We're not selling a product. We're selling a service. Rejection is not personal as well. So literally just today, I had a guy just answer the phone completely mad right out the gate, like cussed me out. I hung up on him, but if I would have tried to stay on the phone, he would have hung up on me first. So I got off the phone. You don't have to put up with disrespect. Like, I hung up on the guy. Like, if someone's going to disrespect you, you don't have to work with them. You don't want to work with them. But you are going to have to put up with rejection. It's like some people just don't want to work with you, and that's okay. Be yourself, be genuine, learn what to say and how to say it, and attract your tribe, right? Even the contact to lead ratio is only 10%. The further you go down that funnel, the lower the percentage is that you're going to actually convert. Like if you pump 1,000 leads into a funnel, you may get 10 listings out of the other side, right? Or 20 listings or 30 listings. But that's still over 900 people that did not list with you. So you have to grow thick skin, and there's no easy way to do that. I think the best thing to do to grow that courage, that thick skin, is exposure therapy, and then you grow more and more confidence when it starts to work. And it may be 3, 6, 7 months down the line, but when it starts to work, you're like, let's go, it's working now. So then you grow that confidence and you have more conviction through that. I've heard people say confidence breeds success. I think it's the other way around. I think you work your ass off and you become successful at a thing. And when you're good at something, then you are confident in doing it. You kind of have to fake it till you make it as far as the confidence goes. Consistency over perfection. So what is the quote? Known is better than best, right? So if you are not the best on the phone, the best at the kitchen table, the best at the door, it's okay. Like if the best door knocker in your geographical location is sitting on their ass and not doing anything, but you are knocking 100 doors a day, who's making more money? You are. So it's a skills game, but it's also a numbers game. The least skillful person in the world will make more money than the most skilled person if they're just outworking them by that much. So consistency over perfection. Perfectionism is procrastination in disguise, as we already said. If you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours getting everything perfect before making your calls, you just wasted the whole call session. So don't do that. Jump on the phone and just make the calls, Like Alex Hormozy says, 10,000 cold calls will teach you more about sales than any book, any seminar, any course ever will. And that's completely true. So speaking of unpaid outbound lead generation, we've got some strategies at our disposal. These are some that I recommend. It's not every strategy under the sun. This is just kind of what I do. So we'll start with circle prospecting. The pros are, there's next to no competition. So very few people, if any, are making calls at all, but certainly nobody is circle prospecting. So this is a good way. When I started dialing in my career, I started with circle prospecting. It's very low pressure because they're not getting blown up. It's an easier conversation to have. The pickup rate is higher than like an expired listing, as an example, which we'll get to that. You can build a pipeline business. So a lot of these may take a year or two to convert. Like, yeah, we're going to move like in a year and a half. But if you can touch them now and then nurture them for a year and a half, and you are just consistently doing that, when they start converting, you have this fat pipeline of business that you have spent all this time nurturing. So those are the pros. There's very little skill required. I don't know if I said that. There's very little skill because nobody's calling them. You don't have to be more skillful than the next agent because there is not a next agent. Cons. So let's talk about the cons. I already touched on it, but yeah, it takes a longer time to convert, which isn't really a problem unless you need money now. And we'll get to a strategy for that. Personally, I recommend doing both. So you want to go for the right now money, your fresh expired, your fresh FSBOs. But if you want to grow a pipeline business to where like at some point you just have deals falling in your lap a year down the line, adding in a portion of your daily contacts to circle expireds or circle prospects can be a good strategy. So on to the next. Oh, hold on. My bad. So my recommendation for circle prospecting. Personally, I actually don't do it very much anymore. The only time I do is if I list a home in a subdivision that I want more listings in. Very desirable location, the price point I want, preferably somewhere that has a good turnover rate. Homes are selling there. They're not sitting there and expiring. So I'll circle prospect when I personally have a listing there. Other than that, I don't really do it anymore. Expired listings is the next part. So the quickest thing to a commission check is an expired listing. You can call an expired right now today. You can set an appointment for tomorrow. You can sign a listing tomorrow and have a new listing in a few days. You can get a contract in the first week and have a paycheck in 30 days. That's pretty much the closest thing to immediate payment in our industry. In most markets, there are plenty of expireds right now. So transaction volume or transaction unit volume, whatever, is severely down in most markets across the country. So if you are in one of those markets, chances are a lot of listings are expiring off the market. So me in my market, I have like 3 to 5 of these leads a day. Except for the first of the month, we have like anywhere from 40 to 60 on the first of the month. So I am a big fan of expireds. It is half of my business right now. So, and you can convert these on the first phone call. Sometimes they're like, yeah, we're keeping it off for a couple months and then we're going to interview. So then you just stay in front of them till it's time to interview, set the appointment, and win the listing. The bad thing about this is it's tons of competition. Every agent in your market that prospects will call expireds. Okay, so you are competing with, that's probably the most, the bloodiest of waters that you could probably go after. And there's a reason it expired. So the property may be run down. The property may be unsaleable. And the seller may be unrealistic. So like I said, lots of skill is required. That's the bad news. The good news is, like I said, it's half of my business. You can, your skill, your phone skills, your presentation skills, your like asking consequence questions, future framework, whatever the hell it's called. It's a muscle that can be trained and grown. So I'm not saying don't go after them. Just want to make sure we're weighing the pros and cons so you can decide what's best for you and your business. I recommend calling fresh expireds every day, Monday through Friday. If you are new and you really need to start getting this thing going, prospect on Saturdays. Call them every single day. It's the first thing I do every morning is call the fresh expireds. And you want to call them early. Like I said, tons of competition. You want to be the first voice. I don't abide by that for my own personal schedule. I have a video here on the channel that outlines my schedule, but I've seen agents call them as soon as like 7:30 in the morning. So yeah, on to FSBOs, for sale by owners. So the good thing about FSBOs is 90% of the time they do list with an agent. That's not a real number. I just pulled that out of my ass, but it's seemingly 90% of the time they do wind up listing. You don't have to pay for the data. It's right there on Zillow. So you have the property. Hopefully you have some good photos. Sometimes not. Sometimes you just have that street view that populates on Zillow. And you have the property owner's phone number. I do plug it into batch leads because then I'll get I'll get like how much equity they have. I'll get the homeowner's name and some other data that you don't have on Zillow. But you have all you need to just call them and not pay a dime for it. The bad thing about it, again, tons of competition. The sellers typically, not always, but typically they think they know everything. Some of them had a bad experience with the previous realtor, so you have to like undo that, right? And it takes a lot of skill to convert these. It also, they're not converting immediately. Like an expired, you can call them, they expired this morning, you can call them today, you can set an appointment, and you can convert a listing within a few days. That's not happening with for sale by owners. I've had it happen once where I made the call, I sent my resume, I didn't even set an appointment, and she emailed me the next day and was like, hey, I want you to sell my house. Very rare does that happen, but it can happen, but typically 6 to 8 weeks is what you're looking at for conversion with a FSBO. My recommendation, just like an expired, I think you need to call them as soon as they hit the market. I personally, I'm not trying to set a listing appointment. If I do think they have a high likelihood to sell, what I'll do is I want to support their autonomy. So I want to say, hey, listen, if you do hire an agent, and I'm not saying you should, I think honestly your home looks lovely. I think you're not going to have any problems at all selling it on your own. But in the event that through no fault of yours or anyone else's, the thing doesn't sell in the next 30 days, do you have a backup plan that you'd like to employ? Like, are you going to be interviewing agents or whatnot? Just see what they say. If they're like, yeah, we're for sure going to interview an agent, then go for the preview appointment. You're like, okay, cool. So I'm going to be in the area tomorrow around 3 o'clock. I'd like to pop by and take a quick peek at the property. Would that be all right? Most of the time, when I get that far in the script, they are inviting me over. So at the preview, you drop off something of value. For me, I do some active comparable properties. I'll do my for sale by owner backup plan and a net sheet. So a potential like future net sheet. Hey, just in case you were wondering what it would look like if you did hire a realtor, this is what it would look like bottom line. And I put it in a nice folder and I give it to them at the preview. And then you just follow up. Let them tell you when to follow up. Don't call them every day if they don't want to talk to you. Don't call them every week if they don't want to talk to you. If they say, hey, give me a call in a few weeks, we'll see where we're at, give them a call in a few weeks. I almost skipped one. Sphere of influence. I think this drum gets beat too much, if I'm being honest, for my own personal belief systems. But there's a lot of good about working with your sphere. The only problem with me is my sphere is very small. I have a small circle, I guess. But when I started in the business, I threw all my massive database of sphere of influence into my CRM, and it was 34 people. So I wasn't making any money on that, right? To date, I've done, I think, 2 transactions from my sphere. But anyways, the pros is these are the easiest people in the world to convert. You know, when they call you and they're asking you about real estate and they want to sell their house, that is a come list me call. 10 times out of 10, you go over there and you just sign in paperwork. You don't pay for any data. You already have their contact info. So, and they already know, like, and trust you. So that's a huge plus. The cons is, like I said, if you're anything like me, your sphere of influence is not large enough to grow your business to where you want it to be. So that's really the only downfall to that. It is the easiest business to convert. My recommendation, personally, I stay in front of my sphere with weekly email newsletter. I also stay in front of them on Facebook. So I use specifically Facebook, and I do my personal page, and I just post like, hey, I just sold this house. We just did this and that. Just put a sign in the yard over here. Just things like that to remind people that, like, hey, I'm still doing this thing. So if you need anybody, here I am. But I don't do anything super massive for that group of people, to be honest with you. Absentee owners. This is one of my favorite lead sources because Again, like circle prospecting, there's very little competition. There's a little bit of skills required, I think, because a lot of these people are investors. So if you grow a relationship with one of these absentee owners, chances are they have other properties too that they need to sell. And you can build a pipeline business. So I'll give you an example. I have a guy that I met last year. I sold 2 duplexes for him. Right now we have his mother's home and another duplex on the market, or his mother's rental property and another duplex on the market. After that, we've got, I think, 2 more houses we're going to sell once those sell. So, I mean, if you can grow enough of those kinds of relationships, business will start kind of falling in your lap. So it is a source of pipeline business. A lot of investors aren't going to, like, even if they want to sell 20 properties, they probably aren't going to put all 20 on the market right now today. So you have you can spread it out and have future business. The bad thing about them is some of them take longer to convert. So not always. Like the guy I was just talking about, I had a conversation with him. I brought him off-market offer. It fell through, and we were listed next week. But some of them do. Like a lot of investors already have a preferred realtor, which is another con. And you have to provide value above and beyond the person they've used in the past. That doesn't mean if they're listed on the market, you try to steal somebody's client. I'm just saying, like, if they have someone they've used for 3-4 years, 5 years, whatever, and you are calling them out of the blue, you really have to bring it to, like, set yourself apart from the person they've used in the past. Right. So that's it. Those are the 5 lead sources. So just to recap, circle prospecting, expired listings for sell by owners, fear of influence, and absence. Those are like probably the top 5 I would recommend. Moving on, I want to talk about staying consistent because I have a few hacks that I would deploy. Number 1 is time block your prospecting. So if you are on an appointment with a potential client, listing appointment, high quality listing appointment, and you get an email, you're probably not like telling the client, hey, shut up for a second, I gotta check my email, right? But for some reason, we time block our prospecting and we get to the table to make the calls, and we get an email and we let it distract us for 30 minutes. We are literally on an appointment with the most important prospect, ourselves, and we are letting an email that is not like important at all. And even if it is important, it could wait till after lunch, but we're letting it distract us for 30 minutes at a time. So let's not do that. Silence your email notifications. Track your activities. So don't just track your results. Don't just track like I took this many listings and I sold this many properties and I presented this many offers for buyers. Like, don't track that stuff, but like track your activity. So for me, like my contact goal for this quarter is 16 contacts a day. I use this planner. So you can see it's got the red X's on it. Every day that I hit my contact goal, I get a red X. So it becomes more painful for me to break that chain than it is to just sit in the chair and make the calls every morning. Because sitting in the chair and making the calls every morning is pretty painful, but breaking that chain is worse to me. It's a psychological trick you can do. Additionally, if you don't track the activity that leads to the outcome, you don't know what your conversions really are. So I could pull up on my KPI tracker right now, and I could tell you, like, for every X amount of contacts I make, I take a listing. I think it's like 80 or something like that. So X amount of contacts to listing ratio, I only know that because I've tracked numbers for a year and a half straight. So this is what I recommend, but I don't deploy. If I'm being completely truthful and transparent, as that's an accountability partner. So I think as human beings, I think we have the tendency to work harder for others than we do for ourselves. And that's when an accountability partner can be a very powerful tool for people, for most people. Because when you have somebody saying like, hey, did you hit your numbers today? Did you set any appointments? Did you do this and that and that? and it's somebody that you respect, A, you're not going to lie to them, and B, you don't want to let them down. So, and that's pretty much it. I think I've dropped some good knowledge. I hope it brought you some value. If you start implementing these strategies today, you don't overthink things, you are going to crush it moving forward. It's hard to get the ball rolling, but once you do, I mean, at some point it just starts rolling downhill. Having momentum at your back is a very, very powerful thing. And for those of you that have felt that, you know what I'm talking about. If you got any value out of this, give this video a like and subscribe for more videos like it. And if you're interested in partnering with me, then click the link in the description below. And